Hello friends, welcome back to Belle's Library. Today we are going to be talking about my reading stats for 2021, as well as kind of going through some of the reading survey questions. So I've got a bunch of fun stuff to talk about and how my reading year went in 2021. It is a holiday, so my daughter is home and decided to kind of be around. So yes, you might see her running around a little bit, but hopefully she will go keep herself busy. Okay, so before we jump into all of that though, please get down below, click subscribe. I also have my Instagram and Goodreads linked for you guys so we can talk bookish on all of the different platforms. I would absolutely love that. And first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and just pop through my Goodreads year in review and just kind of look through that and see what they have on there. So it says that I've read 194 books and 57,097 pages, which is a ton. I've never read so much books in a year or that many pages. That's just crazy, crazy. And then looking at the shortest book that I read, it was 3 pages, and it was The Egg by Andy Weir. And that one definitely, like, within those 3 pages, makes you think quite a bit. And the longest book also makes you think, I feel like too much, but some people really enjoy this one, was House of Leaves, which was 710 pages. My average book length was 294 pages, which is pretty low, which, I mean, it makes sense. I was reading a lot of like shorter books this year. I was really trying to like kind of getting into novellas, and I read a lot of graphic novels, and I did my 31 books in 31 days in January. So, I mean, it makes sense. And I've been a little intimidated to read bigger books, which I'm changing this year. My most popular read book had 2.7 million people shelving it, was Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. And my least popular was 159 people also shelved it, and it was BB Free number 3. Oh, I pushed a button wrong. Okay. Average rating was 3.8 stars. Also makes sense. I mostly like my pie graph, which you'll see later for stars, is mostly 4 stars is the biggest category. And then I think 3 stars and then 5 stars. Definitely towards the end of the year, I feel like I did not have as many 5 stars, unfortunately. My highest rated book with a 4.51 average was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. And my first review of the year was In Love and Pajamas by Katana Comics. And yeah, I think that's it. Oh, my last review of the year was As Old as Time by Liz Braswell. I'm trying to remember the author and I couldn't see it very well. Anyway, so that's like the little bit of stuff on my Goodreads there. Now we'll run through some of the reading survey questions. So the first one is, how many books did you read and did you meet your goal? So my goal was 104 books and I read 194. So yes, I made my goal by quite a bit. The most read genre that I had. So again, fantasy, just like last year, was my highest read genre. I had 28.5%. And horror actually came in second with 21.2%, which was crazy to me. Romance was my second read the year before that, but horror was like way, way, way lower. So romance dropped to only 10% this year, which I definitely need to change because I'm missing reading romance. I think Belle's Bookland kind of changed that for me because I just was not getting romance picks at all, unfortunately. Then we have my favorite book that was published in 2022. So for this one, I have a couple. I have a romance. My favorite romance was The Love Hypothesis. Adored this book. Oh my gosh, so cute. And I love the mix of science and romance. And oh my God. For sci-fi that was published this year, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Oh my gosh, the friendship in this one. Oh, if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. So cute. Oh my gosh, I loved it. And then fantasy-wise, my favorite was 6 Crimson Cranes. And for contemporary, my favorite was Cost of Knowing. So I kind of like broke it down by some genres because I just couldn't pick. There's so many good releases this year. A book that lived up to the hype, Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This one was well hyped and I stinking adored it. It was so, so good. This is like a King Arthurian retelling with the Knights of the Round Table. They're like descendants, and you have this academic setting and a secret society and magic, and it was just, oh, it was good. A book that did not live up to the hype for me was Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Gerber. And this was more of my own hype in my head. I haven't seen a ton of reviews of this one, but I was so excited to read this book because it's kind of a companion to the Caraval series, which I adore. It just did not work out very well for me. I do have a reading vlog for this. Favorite characters this year in Project Hail Mary, the friendship. I'm not gonna like say much more than that because otherwise it gives things away, but that person, that I love that person. And then also really loved Ziomara from The Poet X. I think she was a very well put together character and really felt for her, and I just want to give her a hug. Least favorite character, Cersei from Cersei by Madeline Miller. So boring. She was just boring and whiny. And I couldn't even finish that book. Like, I was just like, I don't care about you at all. Most shocking book / moment. So for this one, I put in People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, and mainly because I was really hesitant going into this one because although I didn't find Beach Read to be like a terrible book, it wasn't a book that I super enjoyed, and everybody was loving it last year. And so I was kind of hesitant getting into her next adult romance, but oh my gosh, this one was so cute. It made me laugh, it made me swoon, it made me smile. I was like all about it. So stinking adorable. So very shocking for me that I ended up really enjoying it. And it was my last read of the year. So I haven't been able to talk about it a ton, but it was so cute. My favorite couple of the year, Eve and Jacob from Not Take a Hint, Danny Brown. Oh my goodness. Actor age, Eve Brown. I totally spaced on the title of that. But oh my gosh, they're so cute. They're like Grump and Sunshine. And Jacob's like this super like straight-laced kind of guy, and Eve is just like chaos, like storm, and they were just so cute together, and I just loved it. It was so adorable. The next one is the best written book that I've read this year, and for me, I actually put in The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I adored the way this was written, to where you could just feel the atmosphere, and it was just like, oh my gosh, so cold, so freezing. I really enjoyed the prose of this one. It was really well done. So that one was really beautiful. I would definitely say like The Poet X, also really good. I know there was plenty more, but that's the one I chose. I'm trying not to do too many of the same books. It says book that you pushed the most people to read in 2021. And for this one, Brittany Morris, her books, Slay and The Cost of Knowing, I really love them. I want more people to read them. I don't think that they've been read enough. So yeah, I've definitely recommended them quite a bit and pushed them quite a bit. And you should read Brittany Morris if you haven't already. Just do it, okay? This next question I have like 5 answers for because sometimes decisions are hard, okay? They just are. So your favorite book cover of the year. I have What Big Teeth. This one's really cool. I really like the colors they used and like her teeth showing, and oh my gosh, love it. A Lat's Away, I think this is a gorgeous cover, and there's some illustrations within that are really pretty. My Best Friend's Exorcism, I love the 80s vibe of this, and just throughout the book how there's this 80s vibe going on throughout it. Super love it, and it looks like a VHS tape. Such a good idea. And then Sundown Motel, there's something about this one that like gives me some vintage vibes and this old hotel, and I really love that one too. My favorite book adaptation. So I don't read a ton of books with adaptations, I realize, but for this one, I went ahead with a TV series, Virgin River, and I actually love the TV series so much. The book was okay. I definitely like the TV series more. But I did read the book after I realized that there was books related to it. And I was kind of like, I like the TV series more, so I'm not going to continue reading the books because I really like the TV show more. Book that made you cry the most. A Monster Calls. This one, I bawled. Thought I was done bawling. Then bawled some more. Like, there was no more tears left in me after this book. Ooh, it was so beautiful, though. Really was. A book that made you laugh the most. I put a couple books down here. People We Meet on Vacation, I was really enjoying and laughing quite a bit. And then also Act Your Age, Eve Brown, same. Couple of those romance books that just like was making me laugh and smile, and I just really made me happy. A new favorite author you discovered this year. I put a couple down here. Brittany Morris. I was trying to think of authors that I read multiple books from, and the multiple books weren't just within one series. So Brittany Morris for sure, and then also Grady Hendrix. So my favorite book that I reread this year was City of Brass. I didn't do a ton of rereading. Most of it was for a series that I reread like the first book or two to catch up to read the next sequel. And I really enjoyed my reread of City of Brass to just kind of get back in that world. And oh my gosh, this series is so good. I need to finish it. It's just incredible, but there's a lot of pieces to it. So rereading it, I was able to kind of just pick up on more of those things and get myself back in the world, and just a wonderful, wonderful series. If you haven't read it yet, do so. It is so good. Were you happy with your reading year? Yes, so happy. Loved it. I thought it was a great year. I am just loving getting enveloped into all these books, and I had a really great reading year. I say the last couple months I got a little bit slumpy in November and December, but I'm feeling like I'm back on it. I'm getting some good reads going, and I'm enjoying it. So it was a great reading year. Okay, so that is kind of the reading survey questions. And now I'm going to move into a little bit more of my stats. Most of these I have from Cawpile, which is a like spreadsheet that I use that kind of tracks a lot of this stuff and it has a rating system on there. If you haven't heard about it, I will post G's most recent video. She just updated it with a version 3. And you can learn a little bit more about it. And if you want to use it, you can. So I will make sure to have that information down below for you. So first, let's talk about the format that I read in, whether it's physical, audio, ebook, or a mix of some of those, which is usually like I listened to it a little bit on audio, and then I also read it in some other form, physically or ebook. So physically reading, I read 33.2% of my books from a physical book, so about a third. Audiobooks, 35.8%, which kind of surprised me that that's not a little bit higher. I will say audiobooks, I feel like slowed down towards the end of the year because I feel like with my husband being home more, I just like didn't have time to just zone out and be in a different world because I was often trying to also communicate and talk to him, and it didn't work out as much, which is fine. And then ebooks, 25.9%. And then mixed, I had about 5.2% there. So there's probably a little bit of audiobooking, obviously, within that as well. Now, looking at age category, I had almost half of my reads were YA, which I do read a good chunk of YA still, so 49.2%. But adult was not far behind at 45.1%. And then 1% of my reads was new adult, so I didn't read a ton in there, but I did have the integration of a little bit more middle grade this year. So I had almost 5% was middle grade. So that's kind of something that I'm dipping my toes into a little bit more, and I'm excited to continue doing that. So let's go ahead and look at my genre breakdown. So again, I said that fantasy was my number one, 28.7%, which it was also the year before. And then we had horror. So horror was 21.2%. The year before, 8.7%. So that was a huge jump for me. The next highest is graphic novels, which I kind of made their own percentage because I wanted to see where that kind of was at. 14.4% in there. And then we had contemporary was 12.4%. So graphic novels was a little bit more than the year before, and then contemporaries was a little bit less. And then we had romance at 10.4%. So the year before, romance was 23.3%. So we had a huge drop there. Definitely need to rectify that. And then sci-fi was another one that really jumped up. It was something I was wanting to read more of. And I read 9.3% of my reads were sci-fi. The year before, it was only 2.9%. So that was a big jump. And then we have mysteries at 6.7% and thrillers at 5.7%, which both of those went up a little bit as well. So my star rating breakdown was mostly 4 stars. 39.4% of my reads were 4 stars. Then we had 3 stars at 26.4% and 5 stars at 23.3%. And then 2 stars, I had 8.3%, and 1 stars or DNFs, I had 2.6%. In looking at author gender, I predominantly read from female authors, but this year I actually read from a little bit more male authors, actually. So I read 70.5% female authors. The year before was 86%. And then my male authors went from 12.6% to 24.4% this past year. And then I also read a few books by multiple authors at 3.1% and non-binary for 2.1%. In looking at how many authors were people of color, I have 21.2% of my reads came from authors who were people of color. And then my LGBTQ plus rep, we have 17.6% of my reads had a main character with some representation in this area. And then 16.1% where it was present in the story, but it wasn't the main character. And our very last stat that I'm going to throw at you here is just years that books were published. My oldest book that I read, kind of crazy, but I went back and looked, and I had 2 books from 1962. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll just look at the month to see which one's actually technically older. They're like 4 days apart, guys. So technically, my oldest book that I read was Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. It came out September 17th, 1962. But on September 21st, We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson came out. So those were my 2 oldest books that I read. I found that kind of interesting. My most read year was 2019 at 19.2%. And then 2021 was next at 17.6%. 2020 at 17.1%. 2018 at 14.5%. 26 and 2017 both had 6.2%. 2010. So those are kind of like basically from 2016 to 2021, like I read a good chunk from those areas. And then I kind of broke it down into 5-year increments because then you get into those little tiny bars up there. So from 2010 to 2015, I had 10.8% of my reads there. And then 2000 to 2009 was 4%. In the 1990 range, 2%, 1980s range, 0.5%. Also the 70s range, I had 0.5%. And then the 60s range, I had 1%. So really definitely gets a little lower, like 1 or 2 books in some of those older categories there. But that's all of the bookish stats and bookish info for my 2021 year for you guys. Let me know down below what your guys' most read genre was. I would love to hear what you guys read a ton of. So yeah, let me know, and I will talk to you guys soon, hopefully. Bye, guys.